So let us start with the probability definition. What is the meaning of the word probability? That is the very first thing that we should know in this particular case. Probability gives chances of occurrences of an event. So now what does that mean exactly? Suppose if I consider a very easy example. Suppose if today is my best friend's birthday and same day is also my parents' anniversary. If my friend says me, Mir, let's meet up today evening and we'll celebrate the evening. So I tell my friend that probably I may come or I may not come because it's my parents' anniversary also. So when I am telling him the word probably, it means that I am indicating the chances that I may come to your party or I may not come to your party because there might be guests at our own place also, as it being my parents' anniversary. So it is just trying to indicate the chances. Probability is all about showing the chances of occurrence of a particular event or non-occurrence of a particular event. Now, before going ahead with the probability, there are two different types of probabilities that we should be knowing. So, types of probability. Number one is the subjective probability. What is the meaning of subjective probability? It is nothing but just probability of occurrence of an event based on some conditions. Now, when you say it is based on some conditions, so what does that mean? Everybody must have seen the advertisements on your TV or on your mobile or on the YouTube channels. They are showing some investment plans that they tell you that you invest, let us say some amount, say 1 lakh rupees, and after 4 years or 5 years, you will get 1,50,000 or maybe 2 lakh rupees. It means they are giving you 1.5 times of your investment or twice of your investments after a certain period of time, and at the end of the document they write over here with a star, subject to market conditions. Subject to market conditions. So when they say subject to market conditions, that you may get 1.5 lakh or you may get 2 lakh rupees subject to the market favors your investment. So what is the probability that you may get 1.5 lakh or you may not get 1.5 lakh based on the market conditions? It is not in the hands of the person who is taking your money or the person with whom you are investing. It depends on the market conditions, whether the market is having a positive increment or it is going on a negative downside of the investment. So this subjective probability is not used by us, the common people. It is used by the persons who are working in industry and they are working at a very high level or top level in that finance industry. Maybe the managers or the investment advisors who are having sophisticated softwares with the help of which they can identify that yes, if XYZ person comes and invests rupees 1 lakh with my company, I can assure him that he will be getting this much amount in returns, probably 1.5 lakh rupees after a certain period of time. But with the star marked condition, that you may or you may not get if the market is not favoring you. That is about the subjective probability. The second one that you have is the objective probability. This objective probability is just the probability of daily use that we regularly use. Probably, as I told you, the first example, probably I may go to my friend's party or I may not go to my friend's party, comes under the objective probability. You must have also studied in your smaller classes about throwing of the die, or probably tossing of a coin, or selecting a card from a pack of cards. They all come under the objective probability. So we will be studying in detail about the objective probability. Subjective probability is used by managers and the decision making authority in a company. This is used by managers. We don't have to do it right now. We have to learn in detail about the objective probability, because if we know the objective probability, only then you would be able to study subjective probability at a higher level of education when you are thinking about doing your masters or any other postgraduate programs. Okay. So for now, let us focus on the objective probability. When you talk about objective probability, there are some important terms that we should know. So let us write down all those terms one by one. The first one that we have over here is the random experiment. You can write, all of you, along with me. So the question is, what is a random experiment? Everybody knows what is an experiment. क्या होता है experiment? It is nothing but an activity whose outcomes are already known to you in advance. You are just checking that are you able to get that particular result or not. You will be already knowing the result, yes. So when you toss a coin, you will be getting a head or a tail, but you are not sure what you will be getting. Therefore you toss a coin and you check whether when the coin falls down on the ground, it shows a head or it shows a tail. So when you talk about the random experiment, it is nothing but a very simple kind of an experiment. Let us write the definition for this. An activity whose outcomes are known in advance and all outcomes are equally likely is called as the random experiment. Outcomes are known in advance. As I told you, when you are tossing a coin, you will get the outcomes as heads or tails. When you throw a die, you will get the outcomes as 1 to 6. But still we toss a coin, we throw a die, just in order to check whether what is the result that I will get after throwing the die or tossing a coin. What is the meaning of the word equally likely? The outcomes will be having equal chances of occurrence. When you toss a coin, you will get either a head or a tail. They are having 50-50% chances. They are equally likely. When you are throwing a die, you can get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. All the 6 outcomes on the die, they have equal chances of being occurred. It is not necessary that you will get only 6 or you will get only 1 or you will get only 4. Though when we are playing a game, we will think we should get 6, but it always never happens. Okay. That's why we say that the outcomes are equally likely. Example. tossing a coin, throwing a die, selecting an object from a box, etc. The object can be either a ball or a card or a number specified to you. It can be anything. Okay, so that is the first one, the random experiment. The second one that we have over here is called as the sample space. So now what is the meaning of the word sample space? It is set of all possible outcomes of a random experiment is called as the sample space. Now there are some commonly used sample space, guys. We will write them over here once, so that whenever we are solving our examples or exercises, we don't need to write it again and again every time. So we just write it once. So all of you just write it down along with me. Example. One coin toss. Sample space is obviously H and T. Everybody must be knowing this. Two coins toss. The sample space is HH, HT, TH and TT. And the three coins toss. How to remember the outcomes of the three coins? Let us see. What I will do over here is, I will write over here H for 4 times first. Then I will write HH and TT in the same 4 outcomes or in the same 4 values. Then only once H, T, H and T. So what I have done over here is, I have created a set of 4 outcomes. When 3 coins are being tossed, you will be getting totally 8 outcomes, out of which the 4 outcomes are already available with us. What do? We first write the 4 H values, then I write HH 2 times and then TT 2 times, and then I will write HT and then again HT. So these are the 4 outcomes. In order to get the remaining 4 outcomes, what I will do is, I will just interchange H and T from their respective places. So here, if I have 3 H values, I will write just below it 3 times T. Then if I have HHT, I will replace H by T and T by H. So I will get over here TTH. In the next, it is THT. And the last is T, H and H. So you are having over here 3 coins toss as 8 outcomes. You can write over here N of S is 2, N of S over here is 4, and N of S in this case is 8. The next one that you have is again a simple one. A single die. In this case, the outcomes, as you all might be knowing, 5 and 6. So N of S in this case is 6. Now the last example, tossing of a 2 dice or throwing of 2 dice. In this case, the sample space will be slightly bigger, but we will write it once for now. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 and 1, 6 over here. 2 5 and 2 6, 3 1, 3 2, 3 3, 3 4, 3 5 and 3 6. 4 5. I think I missed 4 4. 4 4, 4 5 and 4 6. 5 3, 5 4, 5 5 and 5 6. 6 2, 6 3, 6 4, 6 5 and finally 6 6. So ultimately you have totally 36 outcomes in your sample space. Then the point number 3 that we have is something called as events. What is an event? Let us again write a definition for this. It is a subset of a sample space and the outcomes are selected from sample space based on given condition. So now what does this mean? Let me take an example for this. Suppose if I consider that sample space has outcomes 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and if I say A is an event which says getting the prime numbers. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I know that the number 1 is neither a prime number nor a composite number. So 1 will obviously not be selected. Then when you talk about 2, 2 can be called as a prime number because in prime factorization of 2, only 1 and 2 will come. 3 is also a prime number because in prime factorization of 3, there will be only 1 and 3. 4 is not a prime number because it can be divided by 1, 2 and 4, all of them. As well as 5 is a prime number over here. So the values that A will get will be 2, 3 and 5. So I can definitely say over here that A is a subset of S, that is the event A is a subset of the sample space, and the outcomes 2, 3 and 5 are selected based on the given condition. Condition was getting a prime number. Now if A is any event and n of A is the number of favorable outcomes to event A, n of S is total number of outcomes in the sample space, then P of A denotes probability of the event A, and it is given by the formula P of A is equal to N of A upon N of S. P of A is given by the formula N of A divided by N of S, where, as I told you already, Na is the number of favorable outcomes and Ns is the total number of outcomes in the sample space. The next point that we have, guys, over here is based on union and intersection of the events. So let us first understand what is the meaning of the word union, then we will go for the intersection part. So all of you write down union. Combination of two events by taking all the common and uncommon outcomes together is called as union. Let me take an example for this. If A is having the outcomes A, B, C, D and E, and the set B or the event B has outcomes A, P, Q, R and S. So I can see over here that the element A is a common outcome, whereas B, C, D, E are uncommon in A, P, Q, R, S are uncommon with B, but when I write the set A union B, I will write A once as well as all the uncommon outcomes also only once, P, Q, R and S. So that is about your A union B. A very important note that we need to remember for solving our numericals is that union is applied when we have the word or in between two events. Whenever the word or appears in between the two events, we will always be using the formula and the notation for union. How we will do that? I will explain that to you with the examples when it comes. For now, we'll just cover all this theoretical part. That is about the union. Then we are having over here point number 2, which is based on intersection. What is intersection? Common elements between the two events form intersection of those two events. If suppose I consider the same example above, that the event A has outcomes A, B, C, D and E. Event B has outcomes A, P, Q, R, S. So I will say over here A intersection B will have the outcome as only A. Once again guys, I will write a note over here also. When do we use intersection? Intersection is applied when we have the word and in between two events. Again, a very important point guys. I will explain to you how we use and when we use intersection, when we use union, when we are solving our numericals. Now the next point that we have over here is the types of events. Under that, the first one that you have, a very important one, which is called as exhaustive events. Now the question is, what do we mean by the exhaustive events? So write down, if union of two or more events results into entire sample space, then such events are called as exhaustive events. Let me take an example. Suppose if you have the sample space 1 to 8, all of them, and if I define that event A has outcomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7, B has outcomes 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So in this case, let me see what are the common outcomes over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and here it is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4, 6 and 7. They are the common outcomes. What do we have to do? We have to take the union of the two events. So when you take union, you have to consider the common outcomes as well as the uncommon outcomes from both the events also. So when I want to find out A union B, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is there in the event B, so I will write the number 5. 6 and 7 are common values. 8 is present in the event B. So when I observe, it is exactly equal to your sample space. So hence I can say that A and B are exhaustive events. So for any two events to be exhaustive events, there are some conditions that we need to remember. So what is the condition? The condition is very easy. It is n of A union B must be equal to n of S. Why? If you see, n of S has got 8 elements, so n of S comes out to be 8, as well as n of A union B, if you count, it is also going to be 8. So number of elements in A union B and the number of elements in the sample space have to be equal, as well as probability of A union B should be compulsory equal to 1. Probability of A union B should be equal to 1 always. Why? Because if you want to find probability of A union B as per our formula, it will be n of A union B upon n of S. 8 upon 8, if you calculate, it is definitely going to be equal to 1, and hence probability of A union B is always equal to 1 when the events are exhaustive events. We have to look for the word exhaustive in the given question. If the question has the word exhaustive events, definitely you can take directly probability of A union B to be equal to 1. Point number 2 that we have, mutually exclusive events. Now the question is, what is mutually exclusive events? So please write along with me. If two events are such that they do not have any common outcomes, then such events are called as mutually exclusive events. Suppose if I consider that sample space S is again, let us say 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. If I consider that event A is a prime number, then what are the values that A will satisfy? 2, 3 and 5. This is what we had seen in at before example also. If I consider that event B is multiple of 2 greater than 3. So if I want a number which is greater than 3 as well as it is a multiple of 2, then the only possibility that I have over here is 4. So I can say that the B has outcome 4. Now looking at the two events A and B, I can observe A is 2, 3, 5 and B is 4. So A intersection B is an empty set. It does not have any elements in common. So when A intersection B is an empty set, when A and B do not have any common outcomes, in that case we call it as mutually exclusive events. Once again guys, what is the condition for mutually exclusive events? Condition number 1, I already told you that A intersection B is going to be equal to an empty set. The second condition says probability of A intersection B is going to be equal to 0. Obviously, because they do not have any common outcomes, probability is going to be 0 only, as number of outcomes or number of favorable outcomes becomes 0 in that case. Next we have over here complementary events, the very important part of this chapter, because we are having some formulas and lots of questions, numericals, based on the complementary events. So let us understand what are the complementary events. As usual, we'll write the definition first. So please write along with me, all of you. If an event A is defined on sample space S, and if there are outcomes in sample space which do not satisfy condition of given event A, then such outcomes together form complementary event of the given event A. Let us understand what is the meaning of this definition. Before that, we'll write the notation. Complementary event is denoted as A dash or AC. Alright, let us understand this with the help of an example. The sample space, let us consider A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H and I. And if I consider that I have a certain event A which says event of getting vowels. So what are the vowels that are present over here? A, E and I. So A has the possible outcomes A, E and I, but this does not mean that the entire sample space has exhausted. There are also some more outcomes in the sample space like B, C, D, F, G, H, which are not satisfying the event A because they are not the vowels, they are the consonants. So these outcomes which do not go inside event A, they will together form a new event which is called as the complementary event of the event A, and they are represented as A dash, and the outcomes inside A dash will be B, C, D, F, G and H. So guys, if you observe a very important point over here, I can observe n of A is 3, n of A dash over here is 6 and n of S is equal to 9 over here. So from here, P of A, which is Na upon Ns, comes out to be equal to 3 upon 9. P of A dash will be obviously n of A dash upon n of S, that is going to be equal to 6 upon 9. So if I add P of A plus P of A dash, I get a very important value, 3 by 9 plus 6 by 9, giving it to be equal to 1. So guys, it indicates that probability of the given event and probability of not that event, the sum is always equal to 1. It shows that total probability is always compulsory equal to 1. Total probability cannot be greater than 1. Total probability should not be lesser than 1. Total probability is always equal to 1 is a very important note or a formula or a point that we need to keep in our mind throughout the chapter. Let us learn some important formulae that we need to apply in our numericals. With the help of these formulas, we would be able to solve the examples. So let us write all the formulas one by one. The very first one that I already gave you, P of A plus P of A dash is equal to 1. So from here, I can say that P of A dash can be calculated as 1 minus P of A, or I can also say that P of A is equal to 1 minus P of A dash, depending on what value is available in the given example or in the question. We can calculate the another value by just subtracting it from 1. This is the first formula. Formula number 2 is called as the addition theorem of probability. Under that, write down there are 2 points. One is probability of A union B, which I am sure everybody might be knowing, P of A plus P of B minus P of A intersection B. And the second one that you have is probability of A union B union C, which is similar to the above case. What we did, P of A plus P of B we did in the first case. So here I will take P of A plus P of B plus P of C. Then we subtracted the intersection probability minus P of A intersection B. So here I will take intersection 3 times for 3 different events. Probability of A intersection B is subtracted, probability of B intersection C is subtracted, as well as probability of A intersection C is subtracted. But probability of all of them together, intersection of all of them, P of A intersection B intersection C has to be added. So that is your required addition theorem for 2 events A and B, as well as for the 3 events A, B and C. A very important point that we need to remember over here is when to apply the addition theorem. We know the formula, we know the concept, we know the application, but if we don't know when to apply, you won't be able to get the required solution of your answers. So when we should apply the addition theorem, the answer is very simple. Write down. It is used when we have the word or in between the 2 events. How did I understand this? Very simple. I told you some time back, whenever we have to use the union, you remember that there has to be the word or in between the events. So when I have the word or, I will be applying union, and union is based on the addition theorem. So P of A union B is PA plus PB minus P of A intersection B. P of A union B union C is PA plus PB plus PC minus PA intersection B minus PB intersection C minus PA intersection B plus P of A intersection B intersection C. There are some more important formulas, so let us write down for point number 3. The first one that we had seen was for the complementary event, the second was for the addition theorem. Now the number 3 is probability of a bracket complement. What is probability of a bracket complement? It is 1 minus probability of the given bracket. Now what does that mean? Let us see. I can have probability of A union B the whole dash. So bracket indicates A union B. Or I can also have probability of A intersection B the whole dash, which actually indicates bracket is A intersection B. You can have any element inside the bracket, either A union B or A intersection B or A union B union C. It can be anything. So in case if I am asked about probability of A union B the whole complement, it will be just 1 minus probability of A union B. And if I have A intersection B the whole complement, it will be probability of A intersection B the whole complement. Sorry, A intersection B only. That is about your point number 3. Point number 4. It is the De Morgan's laws, probability of A dash union B dash, and then probability of A dash intersection B dash. When you have A dash union B dash, that is A complement union B complement, in the answer the union will be considered as intersection, or if I have intersection in the question, in the answer intersection will be converted into union. Second thing, if it is A dash B dash, answer will have only A intersection B, the whole complement. As well as when I have probability of A dash intersection B dash, answer will have A union B, the whole complement. Now the question is, when you want to calculate A intersection B the whole dash, we will go to the point number 3. And if I want to calculate A union B the whole dash, again I will go to formula number 3, the first part under this. Now there is one very important point that I need to remember over here. In the examples, if you are given a word problem, how should I identify whether I have to apply the De Morgan's laws or something else? So write down over there, A dash over there indicates not A. B dash indicates not B. And I had told you very clearly in the beginning, intersection is used when there is a word and in between the events. So I can have probability of not A and not B. Technically or notation wise, it is denoted as probability of A dash intersection B dash. Otherwise, I can also consider the words in the question can be probability of neither A nor B. These are the two types of words that you can expect in your question or in your examples. So you can understand that you have to use this notation, probability of A dash intersection B dash. The same thing goes for the first. The only difference is in place of and you will get the word as or. If you have not A or not B, it will be the first. That is the union formula. If I have not A and not B, it will be the intersection formula. Okay guys, let us see the point number 4. In fact 5, which is based on probability of difference of events. When you talk about probability of difference, there are two cases that we will be observing under this. It can be A minus B or it can be B minus A. Now what is the meaning of A minus B and what is the meaning of B minus A? Before actually going into this, what is the meaning of the word difference? Suppose if I want to take 7 minus 4, what I am getting is the answer is 3. But how did you get the answer 3? You are removing 4 elements out of 7. You are excluding 4 elements out of 7. Therefore, you are getting it as answer is 3. So guys, the same logic has to be applied when you are taking it as A minus B or B minus A. When I take A minus B, I have to take elements or probability of event A only. Why is it event A only? Because when I say A minus B, so I have to exclude the event B, and if I want to exclude event B, it means that only A will be considered. Exactly same in the second case. If it is B minus A, I will say probability of event B only. There is one more way of representing this. I can tell this is equal to probability of event A and not event B. When you say only A means obviously I don't want the event B elements. Therefore guys, it says that event A and not B. Same thing goes for the second case. It will be probability of event B and not A. One more notation, it is probability of A intersection B dash. Why is it like this? Because and indicates intersection, not indicates the complement of the event B. Therefore, it is A intersection B dash. Whereas the second notation over here can be probability of A dash intersection B, because I am taking not A as A dash and is intersection and event B is as it is. This is the second notation. In order to get the formula, let me draw a very simple Venn diagram. If this is my event A, this is my event B, this part is the intersection part, A intersection B. So when I require the outcomes of only A, if I require this section, the red section, I have to remove the common elements from the entire set A. So when I say remove the common elements, so it means that it is like this. Probability of A minus probability of A intersection B. Whereas if I require probability of A dash intersection B, I require this green section over here, which is on the B side. Therefore, from the entire set B, I have to remove the common elements of A and B. So in that case, the formula comes out to be probability of B minus probability of A intersection B again.